How's it gaming? I'm Phil in the Blanks, and welcome back to the Black Box Files with File 30, Slalom, the final game to use the Black Box branding for the NES. It has been quite a ride, and Slalom is quite a ride. It's a really good game to kind of finish this all off with. It is basically a skiing game. Let's just jump in there. And you have 3 difficulty levels dictated by the mountain. You have Snowy Hill, Steep Peak, and Mountain Nasty. We'll do the medium difficulty with Steep Peak. It's about as good as I can get, because Mountain Nasty is ridiculously difficult. But yeah, it is a racing game, kind of like Mach Rider, kind of like F1 Race in Japan, except with incredibly smooth movement for the terrain. Look at that! That is so impressive. But basically, yeah, it's a racing game. Instead of a car, you are a skier, and you can kind of jump on these little bumps, and if you press down, you can do little tricks and whatnot. But yeah, basically, it's beat the clock. That's all it is. And you got these kind of enemy skiers, I guess. You just need to go fast. You don't really need to go fast them, I guess. You just need to avoid them. All about that time. And if you get hit, you'll go flying, and there's a chance you'll go face first in the snow. Nice, that was really easy. If you fall in the snow face first, then you lose a lot of time, but there's a chance you can fall back on your skis. So, there's always a chance to come back. And you get fast time reward and freestyle points. The freestyle points is how long I hold down when I'm jumping. And that amount of time, those 27 seconds there, is how long I can go in this race without any, other skiers, which is really great. So for the first 27 seconds, we're basically by ourselves. And that makes it a lot easier. So yeah, we want to jump off these. There we go, get that air. Fantastic. And there are obviously other things you can run into, like trees and snowmen and children with their toboggans. And if you see, if you see the little flags, you need to go in between them, or else you will actually slow down. So you kind of need to really pay attention. There we go, on my butt. So now I'm slowed down a little bit. We have to get our speed back. It's a fairly difficult game, but in my opinion, a lot funner than Mach Rider. One, it's a lot smoother, and I can understand what's happening a lot more. And there's a lot more reason to do things. Like, in Mach Rider is just to get through, I guess. Maybe you can kill some guys, doesn't really matter. But in this, it's neat. You gotta go through the flags and make sure make sure you maintain your speed, maybe do some tricks, avoid some guys. It's neat. You can also jump with the A button, but I tend to only do that when there are tobogganing children. We should be, there we go, we're good. So, what makes this game special, other than the fact that it's just really fun and really good and looks way better than most of the Black Box titles we've already seen so far? This was made, and you might have seen this on the title screen, made by Rare. This is the very first Western-made game for the NES. Basically, Rare, I think this is right after they changed their name from Ultimate Play the Game, which is what they were originally known as. Oh geez, they're the tobogganing children. Oh my gosh, children, no! Yeah, they had gotten their hands on a Famicom, and they thought it was just super neat. They wanted to make games for it, so they told Nintendo, hey Nintendo, can we make games for your video game? And Nintendo was straight up, no. We don't really want outsiders making games. It's just they gotta be Japanese. And that's very an old school Japanese way of looking at things. I mean, Nintendo still can be very stubborn like that type of thing. So anyways, they ended up getting their own Famicom, and they I wouldn't say hacked into it, but they found out how it worked and basically made their own demo of a game to show Nintendo, to say, look, we are really good at this. Why don't you think over that decision again? And the game that they showed them was Slalom. I mean, it wasn't complete, I bet. It was probably just a kind of proof of concept. But yeah, Nintendo was really impressed. They were like, yeah, okay, go for it. And this came out in arcades as Versus Slalom, similar to how many of the Black Box games, the Whoosh, this is, I think, my favorite one. Like many other Black Box games came out in America as Versus titles for the arcade, which very much resembled exactly the NES version, with maybe some slight differences that we've talked about throughout the Black Box Files. But yeah, this was the start of Rare being an extremely important partner with Nintendo, and it is a great start for a Western-developed game for the NES. Good job. Now, weirdly enough, despite the fact that they really liked this, this was not released in Japan. So, kind of interesting in that sense, but whatever. Yeah, I think you can tell easily that this game is clearly on another league compared to pretty much every other black box title that we've seen so far, other than maybe Super Mario Brothers, and maybe even compared to Super Mario Brothers. Because at this point, Super Mario Brothers was looking kind of old. You know, this was March 1987. Jeez, no, I thought I was going to be able to get through that. No. Oh, I can't believe I didn't land on my bum. Speaking of bums, oh, well, now we've beaten this, but that is the most pixelized butt you'll see on the NES until River City Ransom comes out. Holy nuts. And obviously, the joke is always Ned Flanders. It's like wearing nothing at all. Of course, it's gotta be that joke. But yeah, now this game is very difficult, just like most of Rare's games. Like I said, there are 3 difficulties based on the mountain. And what sucks, though, is that even if you've beaten all 8, geez, so many things, all 8 courses on a mountain, they move you up to the difficult ones of the next mountain. So even if I did the first mountain, I'd still have to do a level from Steep Peak, and then a level or 2 from Mount Nasty. So I think that's really difficult, because it's like, I want to play on the easiest difficulty, and they still are like, well, you still have to beat the final level of the hardest difficulty. I'm like, that's mean. So I can beat this mountain, I can't beat the game, because the game still forces me to do levels from Mount Nasty. So we're going to hopefully at least beat everything from Steep Peak. So maybe. It doesn't really matter if we don't. This is just a fun game to just play. I think, like I said, a much better game than Mach Rider. It's only the 2nd racing game on the NES, and the 3rd racing game wouldn't come out until later in 1987 as Rad Racer by Squaresoft, also published by Nintendo. And I still think this is a better game than it. So, very, very good for such an early racing game. They did a great job. Good music. Just it also feels very Rareware. Like it feels like their type of game. It feels very different from a lot of the other stuff we've been seeing, and that Japan had been seeing, and North America had been seeing. Because at this point, we were well into third parties developing for the NES, or developing for the Famicom and being brought out to the NES in North America. But most of them weren't very good. At this point, I think the only really good game we had seen was like Gradius and Trojan. It would be not until the end of 1987 where we'd see stuff like Mega Man. I think actually right after Slalom, we'd start seeing like Castlevania. So we were at the point of the NES where a lot of good stuff was starting to come out, which is really nice. And again, thus marks the end of the black box branding. The whole idea of the black box branding was to basically be very honest about the look and feel of what a Nintendo game would be. Ooh, geez, oh, geez, oh, geez. And at this point, I think the NES was just so well received. And I mean, no third-party developer was making their branding and their boxes look like that, right? They were doing the whole painted or drawn hand-drawn artwork to exaggerate the game's appeal. So Nintendo was like, well, we can't just have our boxes just have pixelated dudes on the box, on just a black box, because it looks boring compared to all these really cool looking games out on the shelves. So this was the beginning of the end, and I know I just said it was the end of the black box files, or not files, but the black box like titles, but there was one more step before Nintendo would completely join the rest of the industry in having kind of regular, what we consider regular looking box art. Which we will, like I said, deal with after we close this episode. But it's pretty obvious that at this point, games were just getting so much more advanced than what we were seeing from the 1983 Famicom lineup, like baseball and tennis and golf. This is just miles ahead. And again, we were still at the point where we weren't putting mapper chips inside NES games. That wouldn't start until later in 1987, I believe. Maybe 88. Where mapper chips were placed inside of NES games to really draw out more processing power and stuff. Perfect examples of stuff, things like that, like Battletoads, Super Super Mario Bros. 3 Kirby's Adventure. It was just, you know, we've talked about it before, basically. Monster Run, is this the last one? Is there 8? Or is it just 7? Jeez, no, this is the second last one. So now we're at a point now, they're just throwing everything at us. We've seen a little bit of everything, but now there's just a lot of stuff. But I like how the courses in this game are very much like, there's sets of, like sections. Right now we're in the kind of erratic tree section. And we were at the lineup of, like, snowman section, and now we're in the tobogganing children section. It doesn't feel random. It's like, alright, we moved on to the next section, time for this. Mock Rider's problem, I find, was that it felt very random, and there's no way you could, like, really react to things, because something would happen once, and then it would just, that'd be it. In this, it's like, alright, now we're in, okay, tree, left, tree, right, tree, left, you know what I mean? Like, it's a nice little pattern. So you can feasibly react to what's happening, and kind of ski appropriately, basically. I think they did a great job with it. I wish there was more songs. That's such a nitpicky thing. I love these sections, the weaving in and out of the trees. I love it. It's like really just very bullet hell. Very much like a Toho game, in my opinion. Ooh! Oh, I was doing so good there. I don't know if we're gonna make it now. We're like right at the end. We've seen it before. I didn't mention it. I was too busy blathering. But if the time goes to 0, you just slow down for a bit, and you can still cross the finish line. That actually might... No, we're good with 4 seconds left on the clock. Nice. But yeah, very much like other racing games at the time, like arcade racers. Even if it hits 0, you gotta slow down to a stop, and as long as you cross that finish line, you're good. Ooh, 9 whole seconds of solo time, where they shut down the whole mountain for me. Super downhill, and here it is, the 8th and final course, or slope, or whatever you want to call it, on Steep Peak. In my opinion, beating this is beating the game on the medium difficulty, because after we beat this, if we beat this, they'll send us out onto Mount Nasty, and not the beginning of Mount Nasty to get used to it. They send us to like level 7 or 8 for Mount Nasty, so if you have to beat that too, I don't think I'll ever beat this game. It's just too difficult. But for how long it lasts, the 20 minutes you get out of it, I think this is great. But now that we are at the end of the Black Box Files with all 30 Black Box titles played to a degree, we didn't complete or beat every single one, obviously. But out of all of them, let's do a top 5. Top number 1, it's Super Mario Brothers, man. It's gotta be. It's just that good. Number 2, probably Kung Fu. I really like Kung Fu. Number three. Man, it's hard to choose. Because I really like a lot of the games on here, on the Black Box titles. Balloon Fight might be up there. That's a really fun one. I think Slalom's in my top 5. It's a good one. This is not one I grew up with. I only played it very sparingly, but it's very, very fun. Ooh, that was close. If I'm considering 2 players in the mix, Pro Wrestling's up there too. That is a very fun 2-player game. Oh, well, we're at 4, 3, 2. I don't know if we're gonna make it. Oh no, we might slide in. There we go. Wow, I had a long slide there though. We got really lucky. All right, so with that completed, we are done. Steep Peak. So in my opinion, I'm done the game. I completed it, but now it just sends me on to Mount Nasty, the Exterminator. We'll see what level that actually... That's level 7. That's the second last level of the game. Why would you do that, Rare? That's very rare for you, though. Their games are absolutely brutal. Oh! Ooh, that's close. Oh! Bad start. No, I liked Rare when I was a kid. There was a lot of Rare games that I liked. RC Pro-Am, Cobra Triangle, I adored when I was a kid. Battletoads, of course, but I hated it and sucked at it. I had a buddy who was super into Snake Rattle Roll. Ooh, dang. When I was a kid, I always wanted to play Solar Jetman, because it was in the first Nintendo Power that I owned. And then I finally played it, and I ended up really not liking it, but I was like so disappointed, because it was like 10 years of like, oh, I want to play Solar Jetman. It wasn't great. I guess question of the day. Might as well. Question of the day, what is your favorite NES game made by Rare? It doesn't need to be published by Rare. I mean, this was technically not published by Rare, it was published by Nintendo. But there's games like Beetlejuice. I'm pretty sure that was published by LJN. So, you know, any game made by Rare for the NES that you particularly enjoy, tell me in the comments below on this the finale of the Black Box Files. We are not making this. I got 15 seconds left. Yeah, right. Even with, like, a nice amount of slowing. Yeah, that just killed my momentum. Well, that's it. I still consider that I beat this game. It's so difficult. Game over. And with that, that is the Black Box Files. But before we go today, there is a little bit of an epilogue that I'd like to do because, you know, there is a lot more to the story of why Nintendo stopped doing their branding the way they did. Oh, let's put in my initials. P, M, H. You can guess whatever the hell that means to you. But yeah, so we'll close the file up, and I'll just continue with a little bit of a blabber about how Nintendo transitioned to kind of regular artwork for their boxes for the NES. With that, I'm Fill in the Blanks. See you next level. So, what happened to the box art of Nintendo-published NES games after Slalom? Well, Nintendo didn't immediately abandon the simplified style, but the next 4 Nintendo-published games did help wean Nintendo off of the black box branding into a much more mainstream look. The third of these 4 games, The Legend of Zelda, was originally intended to have a black box format package. Seeing this recently discovered artwork feels so odd to me, like it was from like another timeline or something. Instead, Nintendo knew that Zelda was a huge leap forward and something special, and gave it the gold box and cartridge it's known for now. The other 3 games, Kid Icarus, Metroid, and Rad Racer, all featured a silver box, very much in the same vein as the black box titles. I'm not sure if the silver box was supposed to represent the games getting bigger and more impressive, or that it means they featured passwords, which Rad Racer didn't, so I'm really not sure if that's why, but these would be the last games for the NES that would feature a basic font, a singular color, and an exaggerated pixelized approximation of the game. By this point, the NES had well over 40 third-party titles, all of which had their own look and style. So the clean look of the black and silver boxes looked almost unimpressive compared to other games. In the end, the game that would finally change the look of first-party titles was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, proudly featuring the titular boxer right in front, which was probably the wisest thing to do. I imagine hiding such a huge celebrity name like Mike Tyson behind a pixelized version would have been really detrimental to Punch-Out's success. After that, Nintendo abandoned the black and silver boxes completely and began using stylized artwork like the rest of the industry. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this episode, click that subscribe button and hit the bell icon to know when the next episode is up. If you want to support my channel, share some videos with some friends and consider supporting me on Patreon.